Hello, people of the internet. Ian Altosaar, the Freedom Astrologer, bringing you a material and spiritual dose of freedom this time. And we're going to talk about configuration astrology, or an significator, or a, let's say, influence, maybe is a better word in astrology. That's called the South Node. And for those of you who are more into Vedic astrology, we can call it Ketu as well. I actually like to call it Ketu as well, but I think it can bring in confusion around people, and it's like, what is it? South Node, Ketu? What are you talking about? So to keep it a little bit simple, let's refer to this as South Node, as it is referred to more in modern astrology these days. But let's keep the window open for those traditional influences, and remember that if somebody talks about Ketu, they're referring to South Node. Now, the next thing, I've done a lot of, or a bunch of videos, depending on the perspective, free on my channel about the South Node, North Node as well. But in those videos, I talk about a little bit different influences, and I also talk about what the South Node and North Node are in a more general sense. So please go and check those out. You can see them on my video. They're all there. And I'll just mention in a few words what the South Node means. And in this video, literally was focusing on a very almost narrow aspect. South Node in the 11th house. I wanted to bring this to you guys because this is where the material plane very much meets the spiritual plane. Now, the South Node is to do a lot with letting go, more of this kind of spiritual detached. Detached is a big word to remember with South Node. Detached feeling. Now, if you want to go even deeper, we go into the South Node's meaning of past lives, previous lives. And the South Node really shows us where we achieved and what we did during our past lives, and what kinds of skills we do have to use in this lifetime as well. But where the focus is a little bit on the other side, which is, I can show you as well. I'll show you on the chart. So this is the South Node, and this is the 11th house, and this is the North Node, or Rahu, and in the 5th house. So they're always in opposite houses and opposite signs. Now we're going to be focusing on this and mention the 5th house North Node a little bit less. But why I wanted to bring this South Node in the 11th house for you is because it's a bit of a weird one to navigate, because again, spiritual and a very material house meet. So, South Node in the 11th. So let's talk a little bit about the 11th house as well. So 11th house is a lot to do with material goals, or the things we dream about, but they're more these practical, material, earthly dreams, projects, the goals we have in life, the material acumen we want to achieve. It talks also about wages, about salary, about bonuses. You can see, social causes, social movements, big groups of people, networks, friends. These are all, we can add even markets, the financial systems. Better keep it at markets. Let's put big marketplaces, and economic systems is a better word than financial system, but economic systems is a good one. And also, any kind of these big systems, big network. Also, big systems like supply lines, these international, systems, basically, which they are, supply lines. Every kind of that system is also the 11th house. So you can see there are very It's a very earthly house, I would say, although, traditionally ruled, or the native sign of the 11th house is Aquarius. It's a fixed sign, it's an air sign. So, or let's say a more practical house, we can say. Now, you can also, if you remember what I said about the South Node, you can understand where the two worlds almost meet. And now, the next things I'm going to give you are physical manifestations of what this South Node in the 11th house can mean and can bring. And this I've observed with Placidus and the whole sign system as well, so you can use both systems. Okay, let's get into it. I feel a certain sense of heaviness even starting to speak about this because, again, remember what I said. More material, practical house, and then the spiritual, detached, almost dissolving influences there. So let's go. For example, when you're working in a corporation, let's say a bigger corporation, there's a tendency, because remember, 11th house is bigger groups of people. And in corporations, there are bigger groups of people usually within them. There's a lot of people, seemingly working towards a common goal. Sometimes it's not like that at all. But if you're, let's say, for example, working in a corporation, that then your ideas, your creative ideas, your things of how things might be improved in the company, things you might want to do in the industry, want to do within the company to improve it, to move it forward. Very often, when you present these ideas, when you give them, and even if they're well researched, they're good ideas, and you can literally see that they might, or there's a high probability that they can improve the company, there's a very big tendency and probability that these ideas will get stuck in the kind of like the cogs and in the big machine, so to speak. So there's a pain can happen there, because if you bring a lot of ideas and creative ideas and like, oh, let's do this and let's make this happen in that big company, and none of those are taken into account, all of those are rejected, at first it might be fine and okay and you can deal with it, but after it goes on for years, kind of get the sense of like, what am I doing here, basically. And one of the reasons is because, as I said, the North Node is in the 5th house. So this basically, in practical and earthly terms, means your focus is on this lifetime, or in this lifetime, is on personal expression, bringing that personal expression and personal gifts to the world. And very much because 5th house is that very creative, sparky, creative expression type of house, it's very much associated with your own business as well. So this is one of the reasons, of course, the whole chart needs to be checked, but this is one of the indicators of a person maybe already feeling better in their own company, or some sort of more freelancing role, or more when they have more personal expression, more personal freedom to bring their ideas into life and give them meaning and life and energy, so that they don't get stuck in that big machine, that huge machine. So this one is really, really important for you guys to remember, to understand. And maybe if you're in that situation and you're kind of like, oh, I have the South Node 11, okay, and never my ideas get accepted, or my boss just kind of like listens to them and ignores them, or maybe you're the boss and take it to that even higher ups, the owners, whatever it is, and they still get stuck, constantly get stuck. They don't get made or put into the material earthly realm. So this is really important. Very often, very similar thing that can happen is, let's say this might be really difficult for you to handle as well, is when you're putting in ideas out into the world. Maybe it's your expression, your creative expression, and you're putting those ideas out into the world. And maybe you're using bigger groups, bigger systems. Maybe you're even part of online groups and part of, you know, there are many online groups, Facebook groups, Twitter, whatever that specific group that you're in is. The ideas you put into that group are kind of, disregarded, or a very small percentage of people, understand and interact with them as well. So it's almost like you're invisible in those groups, or dissolved in those groups. Now, this again obviously can cause pain and stuff like that. So there is a lot of focus on this lifetime, again in the fifth house, which is a lot to do with autonomy, independence, again, not being too focused, too addicted to these groups. Yes, South Node also in the 11th house also gives easy access to these groups, so you can easily access them. You can find them. You're even, at first it might seem, you're kind of like accepted to them very easily, and brought in very easily. You can find them easily. But then as time moves on, again, it shows you, it moves, it kind of points you in the direction of that fifth house. But having said that, now the second part of this is also the spiritual side. I'm going to actually bring one more thing, or a couple of things, and then we're going to talk about the kind of like spiritual component there. Long-term goals and dreams and the projects you're working towards. These, maybe you have a big idea where you're headed and where your career is headed, and and maybe you have a big project, big thing that you want to do, and you, very often it's like you achieve it, and then it's, oh my god, it seems so pointless. Why did I do it even? Or even during the middle, maybe you're kind of like, why am I doing this? Why am I making it seem so meaningless? There's no deeper meaning here. It's out of my self-interest. A lot of these types of excuses, ideas come. And sometimes these are, correct judgments as well. But very often I've seen also a person being almost sabotaging their goals as well, because they achieve something great, and now they start, oh, it's so pointless, it's so meaningless, because something happens there, something triggers there in that group. Maybe it's your in the group even, but maybe it's your goal or dream, and something happens that it's not quite the way you want it to be, or something is not as it doesn't have as much meaning as you thought it might have, and now that brings in that kind of disappointment. Oh, it's so, why did I even do it? Why did I bother? Should I even, just finish everything with this and just be done with it? A lot of that can come, and be just okay with it happening. This is a part of this path as well. Now, the next one is friendship circles and networks. Again, easy access. Can even have, during younger years, not always, but can have a lot of friends and go and even be desiring to go towards and have a lot of friends, have a lot of communication in these groups and networks. Even a little bit closer friendships. It doesn't always have to be, super close, but and can have easy access again to these spaces, these social circles. But again, as the person, as time moves on, very often these circles kind of dissolve. The person understands, okay, so this circle is not for me at all. I have to move on. These friends, they don't make sense anymore. I need to go do something on my own as well. That can happen as well. You can just decide, okay, I need to do something on my own. And one of the biggest things here is, even certain points in your life, certain kind of friend circles and social networks can even totally be dissolve and totally change and almost left to the past and left to the wayside. And you're for some years there can even be not a lot of friends, and you have to work on that self-expression. And then when you work on that self-expression and focus on that fifth house more, those 11th house things of groups again can appear. Social circles, networks, friends, goals, new goals can appear, and you can again have them in your life once more. So one thing here that I've really noticed that is important. So I remember at first, at the beginning, I mentioned kind of like this purpose side of things, these spiritual things, these higher meaning things. These are important words to understand with this, because what I've seen a lot is when for the person there is a higher purpose, higher meaning, why they are doing that goal or working towards that project, or even they are within that circle of even either friends or a social network or a group, then if the higher purpose is there, almost like helping people or helping animals, or some sort of higher purpose, kind of being in service to something higher than yourself and your own selfishness is there, then the person can stay there longer, and they can work on those projects longer. Maybe the goal of the person is to bring some sort of liberation to big groups of people or humans, or some sort of transformation, or spiritual healing. Maybe that's the goal of the person, and they have to do it in a creative way. Fifth house, again, in your own creative way. Then I've seen those groups and goals stay with them longer, and they don't really even get taken away from them, because there's a higher meaning, there's a higher purpose that you're putting into these. And for the person personally as well, the higher meaning and higher purpose kind of reminds them that there's something bigger that they're working towards. So it's not so easy to let go of and feel like, oh my God, it's so pointless what I've done for many years even. So guys, hopefully this helps. So one of the things here is kind of finding that balance between them, because the South Node is tricky one in that sense that it's easy to very much focus and be almost addicted to the South Node. So in this case, what we're talking about, 11th house is addicted to friends, addicted to the social circles, not like clinging to them. You can't cling to those groups. You can't cling to friends. You can't cling even towards your goals. Sometimes you need to let go of them. So it's not the easiest, when you work on something for a long time and you're kind of like, shit, I need to let go of it now. It's not the easiest thing to do. So please be aware of it, especially, let's bring the signs in the end, because, on the example, or in the example, you can see the South Node is in the sign of Scorpio, in term of Saturn even. So it's very, very hard to let go of these things. Scorpio wants to really hold on. So you can use the signs if you're more advanced in astrology as well. You can combine. You can see a little bit more, but this video is for those of you who have South Node in the 11th house and find it sometimes hard to navigate to be in these material areas as well, because it seems so at times even stupid to go towards only these financial and material goals that have actually no higher meaning. For example, just working in a factory, that maybe even doesn't do, maybe creates something even nasty like war machines or whatever. Create something that really doesn't have any higher purpose or meaning in the world, at least for that person specifically. So, maybe they are a really good engineer, but they can build, just if we use this example, maybe they're working in a factory, maybe they are like an architect or a designer, whatever, designs those machines. Instead, if you have the South Node in the 11th house, instead go and design, hospital equipment for sick children, or some sort of higher purpose there should be added, or machines for helping animals, big these types of goals that serve the humans, serve our social causes. These should be the goals and dreams and projects of that person who has South Node in the 11th house, and do them in your own creative way and solve those issues, solve those problems in your own creative way. Okay, guys, thank you very much for listening, watching. Please let me know in the comments how you liked this. What did it make sense? Do you have South Node in the 11th house? How have you managed it? Also, like, share, subscribe the video, obviously, if you enjoyed it. And see you again soon in the next video.